Did you know there's a Japanese festival where people say the dead come back to visit the living? But in one tiny village, people stopped celebrating it 'cause something else started coming back too. They call it the lantern that breathes. Every August, during the Oban festival, families across Japan light paper lanterns to guide the spirits of their ancestors home. It's a beautiful, solemn tradition. But in one small, forgotten town nestled in the mountains of Shizuoka, they used to do something different. They didn't just light lanterns, they listened to them. Because if you stood very, very still, you could hear them breathing. The story begins with a young boy named Ren, who spent every summer at his grandparents' house. One night, during the Oban festival, his grandfather handed him a single paper lantern. It was old, patched with washi tape, and felt faintly warm to the touch, like it had been hanging near a fire for a long, long time. "Don't blow this one out," his grandfather warned, his voice low and serious. "It finds its own way home." Ren thought he was just being dramatic, part of some old village tradition. Was wrong. That night, just as the clock struck midnight, the lantern started to pulse. It was a slow, steady rhythm like a heartbeat. At first, he thought it was just the wind, but the paper didn't flutter, it expanded and contracted, almost like a pair of lungs taking a slow, deep breath. And when Ren leaned in closer, he heard something from inside. It wasn't a voice. It was just a faint, rhythmic sound like someone sleeping very far away. He ran to his grandfather, his heart pounding, and tried to explain what he'd heard, but the old man just froze. His face went pale. Then he whispered, "You listened to it?" Ren nodded, confused. His grandfather immediately turned off every single light in the house, plunging them into darkness. His voice was shaking as he said, "Don't answer if it calls your name." The next night, the lantern was gone from where Ren had left it. The family searched everywhere, thinking maybe a stray cat had knocked it over during the night. But when Ren went outside, he saw it. There it was, floating silently over the dark, still rice fields, its faint glow the only light for miles. And in the reflection on the water below, he could swear he saw someone holding it. Someone that looked exactly like him. He blinked, rubbing his eyes, and just like that, the figure was gone. Only the lantern remained, swaying gently back and forth in the night air. And then he heard that sound again, that slow, deliberate breathing, closer this time. Suddenly, his grandfather was standing beside him. As soon as he arrived, the lantern stopped moving, hanging perfectly still in the air. He said quietly, his eyes fixed on the light, "It chose you. Don't follow it." But Ren couldn't stop thinking about what it all meant. Why would a lantern choose someone? What was it carrying? And who was that reflection in the water? The next morning, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, Ren started looking through his grandparents' old things. Tucked away in a dusty chest, he found an old, leather-bound notebook. It was filled with names and dates, each one followed by the same chilling phrase, "Taken by the lantern." Every few years, a villager had disappeared during the Oban festival, and it was always someone who had claimed to have heard the breathing. Ren's blood ran cold as he flipped to the last page. The entry ended mid-sentence, the ink smudged as if written in a hurry. "If you see your reflection carrying the light, it's already too late." That night, the air felt heavy, suffocating. Ren tried to stay inside, to lock the doors and not look out the window. But curiosity, as they say, always wins. Through a small tear in the paper shiji screen, he saw a faint orange glow moving closer to the house. And then, from the darkness, a whisper drifted on the wind. "Ren." He froze, every muscle in his body tense. His grandfather's voice shouted from the next room, "Don't answer it." But it was too late. He had already turned his head toward the sound. The next morning, Ren was gone. The only thing left behind was the lantern, resting peacefully by the front door as if it had been placed there. When his grandfather picked it up, he saw that the inside of the paper was wet not with rainwater, but with condensation, like the mist from a warm breath on a cold day. His grandfather never spoke of Ren, or the lantern, ever again. The village stopped celebrating Oban the following year. The risk was just too great. Years later, A documentary crew visited that same region, hoping to capture the forgotten traditions of rural Japan. They interviewed the few remaining locals who remembered the story of the breathing lantern. One old woman told them she'd seen something strange during the last festival they ever held, a single lantern floating down the river and possibly moving against the current. When the crew followed it with their camera, the footage glitched, and for one single, terrifying frame, the reflection in the water wasn't the lantern at all. It was a face. The crew tried desperately to recover the footage, but the file corrupted every time they tried to open it. The only thing that remained was the audio track. Buried under layers of static, you can hear it, a soft, steady sound, like breathing. Some locals who have listened to it claim that if you play the clip at half speed, you can hear a name being whispered right before the audio cuts out. A name that didn't belong to anyone on the crew. The name was Ren. The old folks in that area still say that during open, if you light a lantern and it flickers twice in a row, you should blow it out immediately. Don't hesitate, because once it starts breathing, it means something has found its way back, and this time it might not want to leave. So if you ever find yourself in Japan during August, and you see a single lantern glowing where no one is around, don't get closer. Don't listen for a sound. Just turn around and walk away. Because some lights don't guide the dead home, they bring them back. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to follow for more.